Ooh, yeah, shiny. Alright guys, so back at it another day here at Whitley Auto Works. Now keep in mind this is a budget paint job, so to save him some money and not have to use as much paint in certain areas that are never really going to show, like the whole front is going to be pretty much covered by bumper and headlights and everything else. So what I've done is I've sanded it all down, got it prepped, and just went ahead and blacked it out pretty much. Same thing for the rails on the sides. For the cow area, that's drying right now, and I've done it in a matte, so basically it's going to make it a lot easier. And of course, taping up glass, shot the fuel area, and I've done the back. So basically done all this, so it makes it a little bit easier when I come time to actually have to spray it, because surprise surprise, the color we're going to use is, I'm not telling you yet, but I'll be showing you in a few minutes anyways. But yeah, coming along with it, trying to kind of go through, find any rust spots, treat them. I'm actually using Permatex rust treatment on all of the areas, and yes, I am using 2K paint and primer for the areas that are going matte, because as long as it's sanded and prepped good, and the paint will stick, and you'll be fine. And of course, always wax and grease remove everything, clean it up really good before you spray it. So let's move on. Alright guys, so another thing I've done is I've gone through and fitted the door panels. Now when I got this car, the door panels were not on it, so what I did was I went back and I set the door panels on here. That way I can get my tape line to kind of show me where I need to paint, where I need to sand, you know, what I can kind of get away with, because obviously I'm not going to rip apart the whole door and spray the whole door and take all the electronics out, the glass, everything. I'm going to be taping it up and spraying it, because like I said, this is somewhat of a budget paint job, but it's still going to look fine when you get done. When you have all the panels on, everything else, you're never even going to know that it was once white. So time to do the one thing I hate to do, sand and clean. But your 90% of your paint job is in the prep. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so fast forward a little bit. I've been working off camera a little bit, getting everything wrapped up, so to speak. Daddy's here going through all his stuff, trying to figure out what he's got and what he don't. And yeah, car is all wrapped up. We need to sand it, we need to clean it, we need to sand it, we need to clean it. You know the drill. And then I'll finally be ready to paint and reveal the color. Alright guys, so after much sanding and wax and grease remover and all kinds of fun stuff, we have finally got this thing ready to spray. Now I'm going to put you guys up here, just like that. Now, whoo! Alright, so everything's taped off. I waxed and grease removed it. I sanded everything with 220. Now these are the jams, so I want to get maximum adhesion. I'm not worried about looking, you know, pristine. This is not going to be a show car by any means. It's going to be a drift car. He's going to bang it around. It's going to be whatever, but I do want everything to stick good, and I want it to look good. Now, a lot of this stuff also is going to be covered up with trim, because this thing is, like I said, it's kind of like an Oldsmobile. It is covered up with trim everywhere around the top. So most of the stuff I'm painting, even though it's going to look cool and look pretty, it's going to get covered with trim. So I'm not going to spend the most amount of time trying to make it 100% perfect as far as the finish goes, with, you know, 400 and 600 and trying to make it pop and then wax and buff it, and you know, there's no point in doing that with the door jambs. But what I am going to do is clean it, get ready to spray it. We're going to shoot some sealer, and before we do that, I'm going to show you guys what kind of products I'm using. Alright guys, so what I've been using so far to wipe this down is just some basic generic Duplicolor Premium Cleaner wax and grease remover. just basically to get it clean. Before I actually paint the car though, I'm going to be using this. It's Prep All by Clean Strip. It's about $40 for a gallon. It will go a long ways. And I'm going to be using that to wipe the whole car down multiple times, make sure I don't have any reactions. And the good thing about it is we will be spraying sealer first, which is pretty much just a thinned out primer. And when we spray that, if that reacts, then we know don't keep going. Sand it back down, clean it, get whatever it is up under it off of it. That way you have a clean surface to put your paint on. That way you don't waste paint. Now moving over to here, this is my acetone. This is what I'm pretty much using to clean my gun. Now, if you've seen my other Rust-Oleum paint jobs, you know that a lot of times with Rust-Oleum we thin it out with acetone, but that's not the case with this. This is automotive grade paint. It has its own reducers and hardeners and everything else. So we will only be using acetone to clean it. Now, moving over here, Bulldog Adhesion Promoter. Now, because it is in the jams, because the stuff is old, and then you have like curves like the hinges and stuff like that where I might miss a spot. It's going to happen. You're human. Now, with this Bulldog Adhesion Promoter, it will make the paint stick. It's ready to paint in 5 minutes. It won't cause reactions, and you get a mechanical bond as well as a chemical bond, so that would be great. Now, moving on to this. This is a simple but very crucial thing. I'm using non-dyed microfibers. Now, the reason I say that is I have cleaned cars with microfibers with dye in it, and especially when you use acetone or any kind of wax and grease remover, sometimes the dyes in the microfibers will bleed through onto the panel, and you won't see it until you spray that paint. Once that paint tries to harden and the solvents start popping out of it, the dye will come through in your paint, and you will have spots of dye everywhere, and it will ruin your paint job. So, like I said, tack rags, all that type stuff, but one thing that's often overlooked is what you just use to generically clean the panels with first. Because if you use dyed microfibers or anything like that, you can use tack rags, you can use whatever, you will not get that dye off. And as soon as you go to paint it and it goes to cure, it'll look fine. And then that solvents reacts with that dye and it will pop out. So do not do that. Moving along to the paint and materials I'm using for this. This is Select Seal 1K Acrylic Sealer Gray. Now this is what we will be using to seal it, which is pretty much just a thin down primer. If you can see there, let me move my hand. It's just a really thin primer, and this is the actual color. It's kind of hard to see. I'm going to lift this stick up and see if you can tell. It's a very thin paint. No, not really. This was a light coat. But anyways, the color we will be using for this in Nason Full Base is 18L Java Black Pearl. I will be using it with the reducer, and we will be using 2K Clear by Nason. There's your part number on that. There's your part number on that, multi-panel clear. And that's your materials, guys. We are ready to start spraying. Alright guys, so I just got done laying the sealer, and surprise, surprise, everything looks good. We didn't have any cracking, no issues. So now we are going to move on to the base coat. Here we go. Alright guys, so a little update. We have got it in black. Door jambs are sprayed. I am going to do the doors and the trunk separately. But this is the black, Java Black Pearl. Can't really see a whole lot of the pearl right now because we haven't got the clear on yet. So next step is I'm going to get the clear on and I will show you the final results. Oh yeah, shiny. Alright guys, so as you can see behind me, we got the base slicked in, we got the door jambs, and we got the trunk area. Now, I still got to do the actual doors and the trunk, and then we're going to put it all back together, but a lot of that's going to be on the next video. Now, as far as this goes, I couldn't be happier with it. It turned out awesome. It's a beautiful color. Java Black Pearl 18R. It's a Subaru color. So check it out. If you like this paint job, you know, pick some paint up yourself. It's not too hard. As far as the mix ratio goes, I know a lot of people are going to be asking about that. The sealer will straight sprayed out of the can. You don't have to mix it or anything. On the paint, I did 2 to 1. And on the clear, I did 4 to 1. So it wasn't too bad. If you know mix ratios, they make the little cups that already has it. Pretty much shows you, has the little numbers on it, and you just fill it up to wherever the numbers are. So, but this is a beautiful car. Paint's turning out great. Everything's turning out great. The body kit's on order. He's looking for another hood because that other hood is just trash. But like I said, great start. We're getting there, making progress slowly but surely. But the big thing is take your time, prep, clean, and the results speak for themselves. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and be sure to tune in for the next episode where we start painting everything, putting it back together, and it starts looking like a car. So as always, I appreciate you guys sticking with me this long. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things we always ask you to do on YouTube, and I'll see you guys on the next one.